Welcome to the show, everyone, and happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody out there that's celebrating. Be safe, too, please, my friends. My first guest has been on with me now several times. I have with me David Martinez, and he is the owner of CDM, it's Estate Planning Law Firm. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself, what you do, estate planning, business law, right?
Right.
And today you kind of really wanted to kind of focus on something important we talked this morning, but tell everybody who hasn't heard you a little bit about what you do.
Right. I'm a native of Arizona. I've been practicing for 25 years. I focus in the area of estate planning and business law. I help individuals with their individual estate planning, their family estate planning. And I work with a lot of small business owners too. So a lot of them to structure their business appropriately, buy and sell their business, and do a lot of other different things as far as the business is concerned.
But today we wanted to focus on a couple of different things, and that was people. I've been dealing a lot with this COVID, right? You've been getting more calls than ever because everyone's thinking about, wow, they've had family members. You even told me you knew a lot of people who have passed away, and all of a sudden you're getting a lot of calls of people that are finally, which they put their heads in the sands with this all the time, are taking care of something they should have done a long time ago.
That's exactly right. Yeah, unfortunately, I've lost several clients and just recently. And one of the things that I wanted to talk to you a little bit about today is the importance of somebody who's single, or that if you're not single but your parents are still alive and they're getting a little bit older in age, making sure that they have their planning in place. What's happening is way too late in the game. People are finding out that my parents don't have anything, and now, oh no, they no longer have capacity. What do I need to do? And it's a little bit late to be asking the question.
Sure. Now, you're also the author of Estate Planning, Your Future for Giving Your Family Certainty and Peace of Mind. Now, I love this book, okay, because I think that it's so important for people to have the information, right? Because that's what you're doing. You're arming the people out there with good information to make great, decisions, right?
That's right.
And this book that you have, we're going to offer it to everyone that's listening. And you get to call in here and call throughout the rest of the show to get the book. It's called Estate Planning for Your Future, Giving Your Family Certainty and Peace of Mind. You wrote this for a reason. Why'd you read it? Why'd you write it?
I wrote it so that people would become aware of issues that come up in their lives every day and that require them to do some form of planning, right? And it's not written so that it gives you a lot of substantive information. It's just to make you aware of the types of questions that people ask and some short answers to those, and why you should go talk to somebody to get the more detailed answers for your particular situation.
Even if you have one, it's great to have this book. Because you know what? These are things that don't just, once it's done, right? You do second opinions?
I do.
Right. And so a lot of times you even think that it's done, and things change in our lives. We need to update them all the time. My medication, I think, changes every other year, right? I mean, so if there's things about that you have to make sure that everything is up to snuff and together. The last time you were on, you had brought up something. And I thought to myself, and I went through your book and I got the answer. And that's what I loved about it. And it was simple, easy to read. I looked for what I was looking for, and it was great. We're going to leave our lines open here for everyone to call in, and you're going to get it. Our number here is 602-277-5369. Toll free, it's 1-866-536-1100. The information that you're getting here, it's so important for everyone to have. Don't just put your heads in the sand. Don't procrastinate, especially right now with what we're dealing with. We want to talk a little about, first you said single people. I want to talk about those single people too. I'm one of them.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people take for granted the fact that right now everything's great in their life. But what happens if you're in a car accident, or heaven forbid that you get COVID or some other condition, and you now can't make decisions for yourself? Who's going to step in and take care of things for you? Who's going to make sure your rent gets paid? Who's going to make sure your insurance stays current, or that it's appropriate for your situation? Unless you have some type of directive, or generally it's going to be a durable power of attorney and a medical power of attorney, you haven't designated who's the default for you.
Well, again, to me, I think this information is important for everyone. Don't put your heads in the sands. If you've had it done, let them do a second opinion as well. Especially us, I should say it that way, us single people out there. For sure, you want to make, and if you have children, you want to make sure they can get sick. Anything that can happen to anyone at any time, right?
That's
so
right.
It doesn't really matter. And if they're over 18 now, they're considered an adult. What happens when people, when they, let's say that happens and they're in incapacity, we're not talking about pass away, and they're in the hospital, what happens?
If they don't have these type of documents and somebody needs to step in and take care of things for them, they are not able to, in a lot of cases, without going and being appointed as a guardian or conservator for them. That process is not cheap and it's not fast, and that's something that could be so easily avoided with a simple power of attorney.
And you know what? It's not fun either. You didn't say that, and it's not fun, because when someone's sick and you're dealing with that, that's what you want to do. You want to be there for them and be able to have all of this information at the tip of your fingers, so it's so easy for you. Now, the book is called Estate Planning for Your Future, Giving Your Family Certainty and Peace of Mind. I've read it. I think it's a great book for people to have. It's information. It isn't something you're going to have to read the whole thing, but there might be things in there that you find that you do want to read. Our number here is 602-277-5369. Toll free, it's 1-866-536-1100. He is rated with the Better Business Bureau. He does free consultations for everyone, second opinions all the time. You can call him direct. His phone number is 480-454-1540. Check him out on his website. It's AZ Estate Planning, the number 4, the letter U.com. He is located in Chandler, but helps everyone from anywhere in the entire state. Again, I say call in here, and everyone gets a call throughout the rest of the show, and everyone is getting it. I have it. I think everyone should have it in their office. It's estate planning for your future, giving your family certainty and peace of mind. And it did, even with my question, it made me understand what I was doing. 602-277-5369, and toll free, it's 1-866-536-1100. All right, let's go backwards, okay? We talked a little bit about single people, right? And you want to talk a lot about, you said about people with family members, okay? Go ahead.
Yes. This is very common. A person will come in and they say, look, I'm not sure, but my mom, she has me do everything for me, and she wants to put me on my bank, or in her bank account. She wants me to do these things for her. And I said, that's great, but we need to make sure that you have a power of attorney for her, so that if something happens to her, you can legally step in and take care of things for her. If you don't, and now mom no longer is able to do these things for herself, don't expect that the bank is going to talk to you. Don't expect that the doctors are automatically going to defer to you as the decision maker, especially if you have multiple siblings. Talk to mom, and it's a candid conversation you need to have, and sometimes it's not very pleasant. But just say, Mom, I want to make sure if anything ever happens, and I'm not saying that I want it to, but if it does, that I can step in and take care of things for you like I'm doing right now.
And that, I know that it sounds awful, but people do not make that conversation very easy, right? My dad, every time I tried to talk to him, you want the money, right? You know, and there was no money. It wasn't even about that. But they do make it difficult, but you have to make this conversation easy for everyone, especially when look at the world that we're living in right now. And with the HIPAA laws that have been in place now for a while, it has made it even harder. And I know somebody who just lost her husband, who had everything. They thought it was all taken care of. But guess what? There was a lot of mistakes in there, and that made it even harder. That's why you need someone like David to make sure that it's done correctly. And he also does second opinions for everyone. Call in here, get the book. I think everyone should have it right in your office, 602-277-5369. We're going to keep on talking here because we're still live in the room. Okay. So, what I want to know a little bit about, also let's talk about people who don't live here and their parents, because a lot of people have parents that live here that don't live here, right? We want to talk about them too.
Yeah, so if your parents live in another state, and what you want is you still want these documents in place, right? And the thing that I was thinking about it when you were talking about the uncomfortableness, because it makes it sound like you're thinking it needs to be you. And I think what people need to really say to their mom or dad and say, look, I don't care who you pick, but don't you want the person that you would pick to be the one that steps in and makes decisions? Don't you want it to be clear what you want to happen in case something really bad happens medically?
Right.
I mean, do you want to be kept alive indefinitely? Do you want to be on life support? Or you're like, no, I don't. Then we need you to write it down.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want all of those kids fighting about
Right.
things like that.
Right. And that's what happens a lot of times. Well, and they think, I think a lot of people think that's not going to happen to me. I think that's the biggest thing. Well, it isn't going to happen. I don't know why.
You know what? So many people come to me, and when we're going over this document, they'll say one of two things. Oh, my mom or dad had this, it made things so easy. Or, my mom or dad didn't have this, and it was a nightmare. We had to do this, this, and this. And so, it runs the gamut.
We're
right?
going to open up with that. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. You like it?
Yeah.
Good. Here we go. Goes so fast. Goes fast.
Yeah.
I know. Before you leave, I want to tell you something.
What?
I forgot. I want to tell you something big. It's a good law. It's a good ad. That needs to be changed. What does it matter? Welcome back, everyone. So we have been talking with David Martinez, the owner of CDM Law Firm, and we are talking about, something that no one wants to talk about, which is obviously estate planning. I also think people think that estate planning is for people with a lot of money, but it's not at all. But we were talking at the break on Facebook, and hi to everybody out there, like us and follow us, but one of the things that you had said is there's two things that people say. It's either one or the other. What was that?
So when they're in and they're signing their documents, they will often refer to their family and what their family's done. And they'll say, my mom had this done, and it made everything, my mom and dad had this done, and it would made things so simple. And that's why we're doing this. We know how important it is, and we want it to be easy for our kids. Or they'll say, oh, I wish my parents had done this because it was a nightmare. We had to go through probate. Everyone was fighting. If they would have just written things down, if they would have just picked the right person, it would have made it so much easier. So and everything in between, right? And so by doing planning, I tell people, think about this. You're just trying to make it easy for your loved ones during a time when it's very difficult, right?
Absolutely. I mean, what I find is that some people say, oh, that's never going to happen, right? Well, things do happen. And it's the times when you think that wouldn't ever happen. Look at it, like I said, we're living in this crazy world right now. And with the pandemic, there are people that are getting very sick. They are getting in the hospital. They are going into, we have things like this happening, right? And when that does happen, you need to be prepared. Okay, it's all about preparedness. Come on, everybody needs to be a Girl Scout or a Boy Scout and be prepared.
Today we got a call, and it was a sad call. They said, it was the daughter-in-law. She goes, my father-in-law died about a month and a half ago, and now my mother-in-law just died. And they don't have any type of planning, and we don't know what to do. And so we're going to have to meet with them, and there's a good chance that we're going to have to do a probate, maybe two, to help take care of this family. But here's the thing. The last thing that this family should be having to worry about is the legal process of taking care of things. Where's their time to mourn, right? And for me, that's what I tell people. You are going through a difficult time when you lose a loved one. If there's these things are taken care of, you can kind of push them aside and say, you know what, I know that I'm going to be able to take care of those things, but let's take time as a family and just remember this person and not have to be stressed out about, oh no, what do we do now?
And there's a lot of stuff to stress out over. And when it's not, even when it is written down, there's things that happen, little things that can still happen that make you stress. Why we have to be stressed about this when it's so simple to do? Now, we've got our lines open here, and everyone gets to call throughout the rest of the show. The book is called Estate Planning for Your Future, Giving Your Family Certainty and Peace of Mind. David wrote the book, and I think that everyone should have it. Okay, even if you don't do it right now, have the book, right? Because you're going to want to do it. You are going to do it, and you're going to be sorry if you don't, right? So our number here is 602-277-5369. Toll free, it's 1-866-536-1100. There is no obligation. What you want them is to have this information. At that point, when you're ready, he's here for you. Our number here is 602-277-5369, and toll free it's 1-866-536-1100. You can check him out on his website. It's AZ Estate Planning, the number 4, the letter U.com, or the one that was on the ad also goes to him. I just wanted to say that because we just heard your ad. You do free consultations. You're rated with the Better Business Bureau. You can call him direct. He works with everyone from anywhere. So the entire state of Arizona, 480-454-1540. Call in here, please. I implore everyone. Just get the book. It's that simple. And have it. Look at it. Read it once in a while. If you think about something that you might have, maybe you have some questions. It'll answer them for you real simply. 602-277-5369. Okay, what else did you want to say? You wanted to talk a little bit about, of course, people living alone, but also the power of attorney. We want to talk about what's the process? Sit down with you and talk to you, and what does it kind of go through it?
You know what we're basically doing is asking the question of the person, whether it's you, your parent, if something were to happen and you're unable to make decisions, we just need you to simply tell us who would those persons be, right? Is it going to be one of your kids? Is it going to be two of them together? In that case, it's called co-agents. And then for medical decisions, we don't have to have the same person making medical decisions that make financial decisions. So you could say, you know what, my son's a CPA, and I want him to be the primary decision maker if there's something happens and I need help and I can't do it for myself for financial decisions. But my other son or my daughter is a nurse practitioner or a doctor, and I'd want them to be the primary person. So think about, there's flexibility in who is going to be the decision maker if something happens to you. And of course, we're talking about powers of attorney, and that's what we're focusing on. But at that same time, I'm going to make sure that I ask the questions to see what are the assets that you have, and is it possible that when you pass, you are going to go through the probate process? And if so, then we're going to talk about the possibility of doing a trust or some other type of planning. And all that together is your estate plan.
Let me ask you something.
One element.
I was just thinking about this. What about people that don't have family? Do they have to do this too? I mean, I would think that they would want to have that done. Just doesn't matter, because it's not about really what you're leaving them. It's what do you want for you. Do you agree with that?
That's exactly right. So if you don't have family, and there are people that say, I'm not married, I've never been married, I don't have any children, my mom and dad are dead, I don't really have any siblings, but you still would need somebody to make a decision for you, and you have people around you that you trust, then you're going to name who that would be for you. You want somebody that knows you, that cares about you,
and
to
it's
make decisions.
further than that too. This is the top reason, obviously, because you're talking about being, if you're incapacitated, do you want to be on life support? Do you all want that? Those are the number one reasons. But there's also other things in there, what that you want for your funeral, for other things. So there's a lot of pieces of paper. I know that. But tell them a little about.
Yeah. Well, we would, you would say, look, I want to be cremated. I want to be buried. I want this to be where I go when I die. I want to be buried next to my husband or next to my parents.
So essentially, everyone over the age of 18 really needs something like this.
Yes.
Okay, and so we've got our lines open here. He wrote the book. I have actually read the book. I've gone through it. I had a question in my mind about something the last time that you were on, and I checked it out, and the information was there, and it made me feel better about, you know, what I'm doing and things like that. So the book is called Estate Planning for Your Future, Giving Your Family Certainty and Peace of Mind, and that's exactly what it does, not only for your family, but really for you. It's really for you to know that you are getting the things done that you want done the way you wanted it, but also it's for the family, because what happens is it makes it so much easier for them. And believe me, the fighting happens. It happened in my family. And in my life, I would have never thought what happened. You know, and by the way, having it done correctly, because there's documents, and then there's documents that work, right?
That's right.
And that was one of them that my dad had. And you would have thought my dad was the kind of person that, you know, everything was done right? You know, he just knew it all, and it was all done right. And it wasn't.
You know what happens is sometimes somebody will come after their mom or dad died, and they said, "Oh, well, mom said this was what was going to happen," and then we read the documents, and I say, "That's just not what it says, and there's nothing we can do about it."
Yeah, and so there you go. Then you don't have to fight. It's right there in black and white. I think people should do videos as well now, you know, because it's easy to do. And, you know, hey, listen, listen, there was a good reason why I didn't talk to you before. Now, no. But honestly, there's really wonderful things that you can do now that we didn't have before. But the most important thing is the power of attorney. That is the most important piece of paper that you can have. Other than that, what's the next important piece?
Well, I say you need to have what's appropriate for you. For some people, they may only need a power of attorney. If they don't have a lot of assets, then somebody to make a decision. If you do have assets and you want to make sure that you've designated what's going to happen to those assets, who's going to be the beneficiary of those assets, and you want to talk to somebody that can tell you whether or not you can do it through a simple will, or whether or not you should do a trust or do something else.
It's important. People, don't put your heads in the sand. I know that we don't want to talk about this. Number one, make this conversation an easier conversation for other people, because it is very difficult. I know, because I went through it, right? And so this book is going to help you with questions that you might have. Things that you might have never thought about are in here too. And it will make that process a lot easier. There's no obligation. Call in here. We're going to let everyone call throughout the rest of the show. Our number here is 602-277-5369. Toll free, it's 1-866-536-1100. Check him out on his website. It's AZ Estate Planning, the number 4, the letter U.com. He does second opinions. He's rated with the Better Business Bureau. He does free consultations. You can also call him direct, 480-454-1540, or call in here, get the book, 602-277-5369.